TikTok ads versus Facebook ads. Okay, so I'm going to disclaimer right now. I'm going to come more from the side of somebody who's had experience actually using Facebook ads in comparison to not using TikTok ads as much, because I guess by the time that came around, I'd been quite frequently using Facebook ads for many years. But in this video, I kind of wanted to just, I guess, look and address TikTok ads, Facebook ads for clothing reselling. I'll make that clear. So I'm coming from the perspective of knowledge of the clothing reselling side of things. So when I used Facebook ads to sell clothes, there's obviously such a complex way of using Facebook ads. You know, you've got that typical thing for anybody who just needs a quick understanding. And most people who see this, you probably know, but you have cold, warm, and hot audiences. Everybody essentially starts in a cold funnel unless you have lots of data, such as maybe it's your own website and you have data of things like the amount of times somebody's visited a product on your website or the amount of times somebody's checked out, and the different level of loyalty will determine the different stage at the funnel they are. So TikTok ads and Facebook ads kind of work in a similar stream to that anyway. With Facebook ads, from like what I've seen, Facebook ads offer a pretty extensive way of you to customize the complete way that your adverts are displayed to everybody, really, and how that works. What I know about what both of them do, that I do know is a similarity, is that a lot of platforms, like a lot of adverts, especially TikTok and Facebook, will do this sort of thing where you let the app decide the audience that it's going to start kind of firing it out to. A lot of people will use that because you think you need to understand quite a lot about audiences, how to build them, how to target them, before you've even considered the creative. And the creative, for anybody wanting to know, is the actual subject matter of what the advert is, which is made of like the ad copy, which is the text, alongside the actual content, which is the video, the photo, or whatever visual representation there is that you use for that side of things. So when it comes down to, I guess, clothes advertisement for TikTok and for Facebook, the first thing I'm going to just do really is kind of compare the different ways that people use both of those platforms. I think we can all be realistic as well. Facebook is definitely an app and a platform that's targeted now towards older people. Like, I wanted to say older mums, but just mums in general. No offense to the mums out there. I don't mean anything by it, but older audiences, aka mums, parents, people within probably like a 32 to 65 age range. It's not really an app that's targeted for young people as much anymore. I think that, without getting into it, I just don't think that Facebook has that sort of aesthetic desire about it for younger people. However, because they own Instagram as well, when you do adverts through Facebook, it's targeted to Instagram as well. That's also down to a lot of things where when you actually set up an advert, you have the option to choose placements and how it's viewed, whether you want your advert to be purely on stories or purely on someone's Facebook feed. But again, just to come back to the point of what I was trying to make, there's different audiences on both of those platforms. So for Facebook, you have the mums, the elder people, they're just the older audiences basically. And with that, they have a completely different way of being spoken to through an advert than, say, people on TikTok. Now, I would say that TikTok is the young generation of it, and it's very fast-paced. It's the kind of same example I use of why casinos won't have clocks inside them is because they don't want you to know how long you're actually spending in the casino. And the same way TikTok doesn't have a button to escape the app. It's just constant scrolling, so it's you having to make a distinctive decision, I'm done scrolling. But with that, there's never a point of interest to leave the app, whereas on Facebook it's a little bit different because most of the time it's through a browser or it's a lot more text-based. So if you ever use text-based apps like Reddit, they're really good, but there's definitely, like, you wouldn't be infinitely scrolling text because it requires reading, which requires concentration. But yeah, this isn't a psychology lesson on how apps work. It's about how TikTok's audiences are being used versus how Facebook audiences are being used, and whether there's a comparative difference between both of the apps that you have to use adverts for. So when I think about like Facebook ads, I think about the target audience of the people that are on Facebook, and then also the people that are on Instagram. Essentially, you probably wouldn't want to target an advert that was the exact same to the audience on Facebook stream as you would on Instagram, because two of those markets are completely different people. It is all kind of catered for in how you set up and build demographics throughout the back end of it as well. But when we just look at it on face value, the first thing I would look at is the intentions behind the use of the app by the people. So Facebook is a community thing for people to come together and connect with people that they're familiar with, whereas TikTok is somewhere for you to either escape, to find comfort in videos that friends have shared, or just to see how the algorithm is learning your mood and behaviors in that moment. And everybody like notices it. If you use something like TikTok, the whole platform it sometimes feels like when you're on it, you're like, God, how does it know me? But I'm not going to get into why TikTok and how it knows you, but it knows you, okay? But you actually agree to that with the terms and conditions. But anyway, again, I'm tangenting. When you're on TikTok, right, I always think about like the way that people want to see an advert. Realistically, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, to me, I don't think are the best ways to get like real good quality of people from adverts. I feel like when I've gone on TikTok recently in the past, it's like, if it's not adverts, it's people doing the commission-based sales through products, and it's like, mate, I just want to like watch some funny videos, escape my life for like 5 minutes, and then go back to it, hopefully 5 minutes. He says it actually turned into an hour and 25 minutes. But the point is like, I'm on these apps to escape, but the whole point of adverts is to like take you into a certain direction. So when we look at TikTok adverts and how Facebook adverts work, the first thing is like how those audiences differ. So TikTok has a much younger audience, and I think because the younger audience is so quick to understand what's going on, I think they see between the advert concept of it and the behind the scenes of it. So I think that like, I think you can have really successful adverts and it's all about the copy and all about the creative. Like, essentially, what content is on Facebook aside from adverts? It's people's posts about like their dogs going missing, like their life, like happy birthday messages on people's walls. It's very community based. So when you make an advert for Facebook, I feel like in order for it to have a similar success, if you was to compare it to TikTok, it would need to have some community felt behind the scenes through it. And whereas with TikTok, it needs to feel like you're watching a content creator's video, but you're not being advertised to. So, Spencer, how is this point any way associated to whether TikTok ads are better than Facebook ads? And the answer is, I'm not too sure. I'm just trying to understand it myself to like explain it. From my experience using Facebook, it was, you know, you've got all this data, you have a very quick way of understanding how your adverts are working, how people are going from the cold funnel, like how they're going from the cold to the warm to the hot, and how their experience is changing. The data essentially allows you to understand all of that sort of stuff. And TikTok has an ads manager that's exactly the same, that works in this behind the scenes thing where you've got all this information to your disposal that you can kind of like look at and go, okay, I know what to target, I know what to not target and stuff like that. But I'm trying to come from the perspective where I don't think the adverts are really annoying, because when I see adverts on TikTok, let me think, have I actually bought into any myself? I don't think so, not directly. So, and I might be somebody who is too like, sees behind the fourth wall of it, but adverts to me on those platforms are quite annoying. But I think that the way that they would be successful would be if the content doesn't feel like it's out of normal content for somebody to consume. Like if you're on TikTok, make funny content. If you're on Facebook, make heartfelt community content. And that's kind of like the ceramic for both of them in order for them to kind of be successful in their comparative ways. But if I was to say which one would be better, TikTok or Facebook, I would say, again, in terms of clothing, I see a lot more adverts on TikTok than I do on Facebook for it. It could be because I'm on TikTok more than I'm on Instagram nowadays. However, yeah, there's so many other aspects to take into consideration. A lot of people are advertising through TikTok, and people are still advertising through Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. But if I was to say which one would be better, or which one would be more useful for you to use, I would say it depends whether you want to make content to advertise in a community and like a wholesome sort of way and build something behind the scenes and look like you're about it, or to be on TikTok and just make content that people find funny, that people find engaging, and that people can like through the way that the app is already being used for it, if that makes sense. Like, if you started to make the same sort of content that you'd make on Facebook for TikTok, people would not engage with it because that's just not the direction of that app. So I hope that's made some sort of sense. Again, like I say, my point of entry is like I've been a part of Facebook ads in the past for the best part of like 6 to 7 years. I'd used TikTok for a little bit of ads, and I've understood it based on what I've researched about it and seen through it. But again, I think the straightforward thing is if you are a brand wanting to advertise, it depends whether you want to be a community sort of brand or whether you want to be a brand that's relatable and on trend, because that's why people use TikTok ads, because it's for being in trends and like being seen by enough eyes. You know, drop a comment. Do you use TikTok more than you use Facebook? The chances are that the age and the response of the people that say they use Facebook more than TikTok and TikTok more than Facebook will probably confirm that point I made about the community through older people and the trend through the younger people. So yeah, hope this one finds you well, guys.